Schools that work next.
Do it one more time. And before we go, there's gonna be a gap after he talks, so nobody talk in that gap. Okay, Scott?
Okay.
Yeah, you ready? Come with us and let's examine schools that work next.
Today we have an Edutopia episode for you, and we're so excited to talk to a couple of people from Edutopia as well as a superintendent. We have Peter. Here we go. Ready? Peter Pudiatin.
Nice.
Did I get it? Okay. Pudiatin. He is a school selection coordinator for Schools That Work project. And we have Ilana Leone. She is the Director of Social Media, Strategy and Marketing for Edutopia. And both of them are right now at the Skywalker Ranch, which is located 45 minutes north of San Francisco, enjoying themselves at a very nice location, I guess. And we also...
Stay tuned, because they're going to give us secrets about the new movie, right, you guys?
And we have Pam Moran, who is the superintendent of schools in Albemarle. Did I say that?
You got
right?
it.
Albemarle,
That's right.
Virginia. And she's had quite a bit of experience with the Edutopia team, and so we're going to hear from her as well. So thanks for joining us today.
It's a delight to be here with you guys. Thank you for having me.
Yes, very, very excited to be on again, guys.
It's a pleasure.
Hey, would you start off by just kind of giving us a background on what Schools That Work is and how it came about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think just step back a little bit for people that aren't familiar with Edutopia. You know, God forbid they're not familiar with Edutopia.
Wait. That's not possible. I'm sorry.
Hey, you'd be surprised. So really, Edutopia exists to shine a spotlight on what's truly working in K through 12 education. We're a not-for-profit. We don't have any other agenda but really telling the story about what's working in education. So I think one would call us some digital storytellers, per se. Our platforms are social media, edutopia.org, really anywhere where people are hanging out on the web. And we have videos, which we'll talk about with our Schools That Work series coming up. But we also have thousands of educator blogs on the ground. Scott actually wrote a blog for us, people that are in the trenches every day talking about practical solutions on how to change education. So that's just a little bit about Edutopia. You can reach us at edutopia.org or anywhere on the web. But I think that helps for a little bit of context. And what we'd love to talk about is our Schools That Work series, which is a subset of everything we do.
Peter?
Yeah, so the Schools That Work series of video case studies, you know, is different from the rest of the Edutopia content in that it really focuses on telling school-based stories about what's working at schools in terms of school-wide practices, and we use multiple short-form videos to try and capture, you know, really in you know, very sort of granular way what is happening there, what the practices are that leads to school success. So through several videos as well as some text resources, a research roundup, and usually you know, commentary by folks on the ground in terms of blog posts, we try and really capture what's happening at particular schools. And those are school case studies.
Hey Peter, how do you find the schools that you select to do a case study on?
Yeah, well, you know, there are a lot of schools out there, and there's a lot working in a lot of places. So, you know, that's my biggest challenge, and it's what I spend most of my time doing. So as the school selection coordinator, I access my personal network, so folks that I'm connected to, you know, folks that find me on social media, but then also people that I meet at conferences and whatnot. So they, you know, give me data and information on particular schools that are working. But then also I look at a ton of online resources, rating sites, state departments of education, school report cards. So a lot comes through, you know, more traditional metrics as well. And then, of course, you know, podcasts. So radio shows like yours, podcast shows, as well as print media, everything that I read, books that I read. Really, the idea is just to find schools with outstanding results, and that can come through kind of any resources that I have out there.
Yeah,
go ahead, Ilana.
Oh, I was just going to say, what Peter's trying to do is truly the holy grail search. It's like, put on your Indiana Jones hat and really try to find those. I mean, there's amazing stuff happening around the country with school improvement, but we have really select criteria. We want to look at evidence-based research in at least 3 years, showing not only quantitatively is the school performing, but qualitatively. Are these kids really enjoying what they're learning? Are they becoming human beings? Do they want to be lifelong learners? So we look at so many factors, and this is so hard that, when I heard that the Broad Prize stopped doing this, I was just like, wow, it is hard, and they're recognizing how hard it is to find schools that you can really put that stamp of approval on and say, yes, this works, and yes, I believe it can be adapted around the country. And those are really hard things.
You just answered my question, but also I'd like to ask something. We got an echo going somewhere, but am I the only one that's hearing it?
No, I can hear it.
I don't have an echo. You're coming in pretty clear.
Okay. Now, George Lucas makes movies. That's how he made his millions. Is he involved in making these movies for Edutopia, or is it? He's not the one directing any of these movies, I'm sure, but.
Yeah, sometimes we'll call on him and he will just hold some sound equipment. We'll just take him out to. Just kidding. No. He's not physically involved, but he has a particular passion around our Schools That Work series. It is truly the one thing. If I could, transport me into a boardroom presenting to George, or Peter presenting to George on Schools That Work, is he lights up when we talk about it. This is truly the mission of Edutopia, and for us, the mechanism is Schools That Work, to highlight not only these schools are doing amazing things, but show that blueprint for adaptation in any situation. Like, we're not here just to be fancy, clickbait, amazing media for teachers. We're here to make a difference and show that people are using our materials to adapt them to make change and improve education. That's what he's so passionate about. And a video can say things more than a couple of words or written words. It's seeing it in video, seeing the kid's face light up, the teacher and what they're doing is so important.
It's really interesting because when you asked that question, that was one of the first things that our kids said here when the crew showed up and they heard they were from Edutopia, and then one of the kids said, "What's that?" And one of the film crew said, "Oh, like George Lucas." And this kid said, "You mean the Star Wars guy?" And he was, "Where is he?" He said, "Where is he?" And I just laughed because it's almost as if even when an elementary child knows who George Lucas is, you know that something's been accomplished in terms of your life's passion and influence in the world.
So Pam, your district was highlighted through Schools That Work, correct?
Yes, we were. Yes,
so
we were.
How did that come about? How did that happen? And really share some stories of moments that really brought the Edutopia to you.
Well, it's interesting because we've often wondered ourselves how Edutopia found us. So maybe Peter or Alana can answer that. But I think that I work in one of the more progressive school divisions in the United States. In terms of a comprehensive school district with 26 schools, 726 square miles, a real diverse population of kids that extend from an urban ring all the way out to a rural area. And one of the things that we've been doing since 2002 is trying to really go after how do we create a level of passion and love of learning in our kids. What is it that we do that's beyond kids working on a set of standards that's set by the state, trying to meet No Child Left Behind benchmarks, which I will tell you, at one point in time we said, this whole focus on test prep curriculum, is going to really suck the passion out of our schools, out of our teachers, out of our kids, if we don't go after something that looks substantively different than that. And we did, and we've continued to do that work around what we call our lifelong learning competencies. And I'm not real sure how Edutopia found us, but we have a lot of folks in our system that are longtime followers of Edutopia and really value that what we're able to take away from other examples of schools really gives, I think, us all hope for the future, that we can really get to the kind of learning that we would want for our children.
So, Peter, why don't you tell us, how did you find
tell us, Peter.
Pam, is there anything else you want us to ask them?
Albemarle came into our lineup for schools that work some time ago, so it was actually before my time here, and I'm not sure I would divulge the secret of how we heard about them, even if I did know. But what I will say is that we often hear about district success stories, school success stories, amazing programs, organizations that are involved, in particular pedagogies, whether it's social emotional learning or project-based learning. We, through those are stories of the great things that are happening at great schools. So I can't tell you the particular story about how we came upon Albemarle, but I'm pretty sure that we heard it in the wind. Somebody said, "Do you guys know what's going on in Virginia?" And we said, "No, but we will in a minute."
Yeah.
And it came about that way.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that being on Twitter for so long, I heard of Pam before I even knew her. I knew she was very active on Twitter, and I looked up to her even before I even knew her, because I know that not only was she active on social media, but she responds. She's engaged. I remember I had to do a presentation to a bunch of superintendents in Marin on Twitter, and I threw a call out and said, "Hey, does anyone want to help me just Skype in and tell them how it's helped you?" And she apologized she couldn't get back to me in time. I'm like, I didn't even know you were listening to me. So I mean, I've always looked up to her, and I do feel like a lot of the times we find schools with innovative leaders at the helm, and I talk to those innovative leaders, luckily, every day on Twitter. So it's a little bit word of mouth, but a lot of it is we're all hanging out because we all have the right vision for education.
And one of the things I just wanted to add to that is that, how we hear about these schools, it really all does start with, with an extraordinary story, but then there's a really rigorous and pretty detailed vetting process. So not every school that we hear about or that's active on Twitter, or even that gets written about, makes it into our pipeline. What we really look for is evident and measurable student achievement, right? So there has to be evidence that kids are learning, and it has to be measured in some way. So there has to be data to back it up, and there have to be replicable practices, because one of the whole goals of the Schools That Work series of case studies is to spread the wealth. It's to inform change in our audience in terms of what's working. So all of our videos have a real how-to orientation to it, and the goal there is for our audience to see it, become inspired by really good video making, and look at these beautiful videos, but then also have everything they need to make changes in their classrooms as would fit their own context. Nothing is quite plug and play. You can't just take something off the shelf and install it. You can't take something from Albemarle, Virginia, and install it in Marin County and expect to have the same results. But everything, all the practices that we look at should be adaptable to different contexts. So we look for student achievement, replicability, evidence, presence of data, and then school performance metrics.
And it's interesting you say that, Peter.
And if all those things are present, go ahead, Pam.
I was just going to say that it really resonates with me when you say that piece about, that there are so many places in the country where all you hear is you want to scale programs up and replicate that program. And what I've really learned in Albemarle is that, and I borrow from Deborah Freese and Margaret Wheatley's book, Walk Out, Walk On, where they talk about the idea of scaling across. And, how do you find the big ideas? But rather than trying to make those big ideas become the same idea in school after school after school, how is it that educators who grab those, wrap around them, make them their own, change them, innovate them up, and basically turn it into something that becomes their own unique way of approaching how to get to learning with kids? That's a really different model, but it's one I think that appeals to educators.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's exactly right. We've had a lot of conversations here about, the semantic difference between replicability and adaptability, and we use those two words often interchangeably, but officially what we want is adaptable practices. We want different schools to use similar practices, but in ways that fit their context.
Yeah, and more on a lighthearted note, a lot of the times when we are looking at UX design on our website and user experience, we look at, it's not all about just that one story. That story is this conversation starter. Just like a blog post, just like anything we start on Edutopia, that is the beginning of a fruitful conversation where you'll be asking, hey, how did you exactly do that? What did you do? Or somebody chimes in from across the country and says, here's what we did it a little differently. So it's almost like a Epicurus, if you will, of school improvement. And that's like the metaphor we used a lot of the times is you have this recipe, right? But you're gonna hold the butter sometimes if you're a vegan. You might add more butter if you're in the South. But whatever works for you.
Hey Pam, I had a question for you. I'm assuming the process of going through this, especially being a successful district that's been highlighted in this way, is really reflected, like puts you in a position where you're really reflecting on all your practices. So just to kind of connect with the districts and the teachers that listen out there, was there something that you learned about your district through this process that pushed you and drove you forward to change something, even though you were being highlighted for some of the different successes that you were having?
Well, I think that one of the things that was really interesting to me, well, I will say this, that when I started looking at the videos, one of the things that really struck me is that I was attending to things that, even though I've walked all of these schools very often over, weeks, months, years, that there were things that I saw that I'd never noticed. And so I thought that was a really interesting piece, was being able to almost look at the school division through fresh eyes, because you're hearing the voices of teachers who are speaking with such authenticity. And it struck me that that whole piece about the idea of that movies tell a story, and what I really saw emerge was the importance of people having an opportunity to tell their stories, to create their narrative. And so I think that one of the things that I really see as a takeaway is a real urge to do more documentary work inside the system, to be able to let our educators, our kids, parents, because we had principals, parents, kids, teachers, central office staff all contributing to that narrative. And so one of my takeaways is we should all be more movie makers than we are, because it gives us an opportunity to see into a world through a different lens than when you're just there for the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's a principal, Chris Lehman, out in Philadelphia. I remember 2 years ago, I was at ISTE when it was there before, and he said, Alana, my role has changed. And maybe it was always the role, but I never really realized it, but I'm a storyteller, first and foremost. My role is to tell the story of student success, this school's success, the practices that are working, so hopefully we can really make this one spotlight, be bigger. Empower more people. And he is one of the best storytellers, and he does inspire other people to be that. And it's not just a person in a leadership role that can do it. And that's what we truly believe in Schools That Work, is we like to highlight student voices, we like to highlight parent voices, teacher voices, whoever there is part of that success we like to highlight.
Well, and you get to listen to these teachers and kids in particular, the voices of kids. And one of the things that I realized is the incredible level of agency, and the idea that it was so hard to really pick schools where Edutopia was going to go to film, because, as I used to say to the guys when they would show up, we're really a WYSIWYG system. I can take you to any school any day, and just turn your loose, and you're going to find amazing things going on. There's nothing that we do that is contrived around you being here. What you're going to see is what you get, and so that is, that was really a hard piece, was realizing that with 26 schools spread over 720 square miles, we couldn't get to every school, but any school in Albemarle, and I really believe every teacher and every child's voice really represents a kind of agency for learning that is what we're really after, and being able to see that in the videos was really important. The other thing is that I just had a teacher that was featured in one of the videos, I think it was the Flexible Classroom video, who let me know recently she was so excited because she's been hearing from teachers all over the country who've tracked her down and have said, you really give me a perspective that I can do something different in my classroom. I can change something. And it strikes me that whether it's a principal who's had other administrators contact her and say, how can we come and see what you're doing, or talk to you and your folks to hear more about what you've done to really create an environment of choice and comfort for kids, that it's been affirming for them, but they feel like that they have influence. And I really think that that is something that educators in this country oftentimes feel, that things are done unto them versus them having a sense of influence. And that's something that I really have appreciated, that our educators here feel like that this was an opportunity to have influence.
Yeah, that's great. It's really great to hear that come back from you, Pam, and your experience from the other side of the camera, as it were. One of the golden moments, in my job is being on site at a school and seeing things happen after all of the interviews and all of the conversations and all of the research and homework that our team does before we show up. Being on site and then noticing something that the school didn't even know was really special. The school didn't even know that this is not something we see at every school. My team and I were just recently in Oregon, in Hood River, at an extraordinary middle school there, and one of the things going on at this school is embedded collaborative learning. These kids are social and they're learning through dialogue, and everything they do is around tables and in conversation with each other. And we brought that up to the principal, and he looked at us like, doesn't everybody do that? We've been doing that for years. Is that really that special? And I had to say, yeah, it is. That's terrific, and you guys should keep doing it.
Well, and I even laughed when I realized when the social media video kicked out, and I looked at that and I went, that was such a tiny seed of Michael Thornton starting that piece with 20 pieces of paper. And the next thing you know, it's kind of caught on fire. And you guys managed to pull that together and tell that story. And it just tickled me, because I thought, how the heck did they do that? How did they grab all those pieces? And and then when I looked at some of the Twitter feeds that you guys were manipulating, and I thought, oh man, this is so Lucas Foundation. This is so about that magic stuff that goes on. But it was, I think the important thing is that oftentimes it's the small moments in our teachers' days with kids that really represent the power of our profession to make things so different for children as learners, and to really create those pathways to learning. And that social media story just really, it almost, that and a kid that you guys picked up that was in our sound construction, our music construction studio in one of the high school libraries. And one of the things that you guys probably don't know is that we were so worried about whether that kid was going to graduate from high school. And it wasn't long after y'all left, had done the filming, picked that up, and this was a kid that we thought would drop out before he got to probably Thanksgiving of his senior year, and he'll tell that story. And that kid, by the end of the year, had accrued all the credits he needed. I got a phone call one day. I'm driving in my car around the county, and the principal calls me, and he says, I want you to talk to Colion. And I got on the phone with him, and I thought, oh, this is not going to be good. And his news was that he had passed his last SOL test, and yes, in Virginia they are SOL state tests. No pun intended. Some people say you got that right in Virginia, but the piece that was so powerful about it is that little story that you told about the music studio. That kid says, that's what kept me coming back to school every day, was the opportunity to write my music and be able to basically tell my stories through my lyrics. And he graduated.
I'd love to hear that.
You know, and
awesome.
you guys got to grab that story and bring it in, and you
all
probably
about
don't
telling
even
the
know
stories. You know, it's all about the stories. So we're
Yeah.
going to switch gears right now, if you guys don't mind. We're running a little short on time, so we're going to play a game with you guys.
it. Uh-oh.
A game.
Uh-oh. This is not good.
Each one of you has chosen someone to represent today to try to win a Rockin' the Standards album download for them. So we're going to go around and have you tell us who you're going to be playing for in today's little game. So let's start with Pam. Who are you playing for, Pam?
I am playing for Karen Hethcock.
And she teaches...
Karen is an upper elementary teacher at Broaduswood Elementary and was actually featured in one of the videos where her kids were building coliseums out of sugar blocks.
And Elena, who are you playing for?
You know, I'm going to play for one of my good friends, Gaten Papalardo. He is out of Philly, elementary school teacher. Plays music, rocks out with his kids. Great guy.
He'll appreciate that. And Peter, who are you playing for today?
I'm playing for Steve Vanfell, an 8th grade teacher in Larkspur, California.
Very cool. All right, so the way this is going to work is that Scott and I are going to alternate asking questions, and they're free-for-all. It's whoever can jump in and answer the question first. They're multiple choice, and we need to have a sound for each one of you because we don't have buzzers hooked up across the country. So what sound would you like to use, Pam?
Let me see here.
I want you to find the man suspected of creating...
How about something that's kind of ghost-like, since it's almost Halloween?
Okay, so what would that sound like?
Woo!
Okay, so if you think you want to jump in first and give the answer, you're going to make that sound, all right?
That's right.
And then Elena, Lana.
Oh, my sound. I was going to make it like, you know, Jaws, like dun, but that's too long, so I'm just going to go like bleep.
Okay.
Okay, you can use the bleep. All right, Peter, and what sound are you going to give us?
How about a duck?
You're going to quack like a duck.
Yeah, quack, quack.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, so our theme today for our game is...
Wait.
Well,
Guess the theme, everybody.
guess the theme.
Star Wars.
Close. George Lucas trivia questions.
Oh, dear gosh. That is so unfair.
It's kind of unfair.
Needless to say, two people's jobs might be on the line.
I cannot Google fast enough to beat
Oh,
this
no,
one.
there's
No
no...
Googling.
And you know what? I don't think you're going to have a disadvantage in this one. This is going to be tough. So, Scott, why don't you kick it off with the first question?
All right, question number 1. George Lucas had a different plan for Yoda. Which of these was not a different original idea supported by Lucas? Is it A, Yoda's voice was not going to be that of Frank Oz? Is it B, Yoda was going to be a blue gnome-looking creature? Or C, Yoda would have only one eye? Well, again, which of these was not a...
What was that noise? I don't
That was a
remember any of
ghost.
you. I don't remember any of you saying.
I have sound effects.
That was your ghost. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Pam.
All right, I think it was B. He was going to be a blue thing.
Not correct. Anyone else?
Bleep. I'm going to
Yes.
say
Alana.
C, which I don't remember.
Which one?
C.
C.
Yoda?
One eye.
Yoda would have only one eye?
Yes, that is correct. Ilana, you are in the lead right now, 1-0. All right. Here we go. Next question. What does George Lucas have in common with Luke Skywalker? Is it A, they both grew up fatherless. B, they were both speed demons as youth. Or C, they were both farm boys.
Quack.
Okay, quack. We're going to give it to the quack. What is it?
Both speed demons as youth.
Oh, that is correct. A point for Peter.
All right. Woohoo! You do have to admit this is a biased test.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Side
Come
note,
on, Pam. We're pulling for you on this
if
one.
George didn't actually get into an accident, he would probably be a race car driver rather than a filmmaker.
Yeah.
All right, question number 3. Are you ready?
Right.
Yes.
George Lucas tried to join the Air Force, but they rejected him. Why? Was it A, he had flat feet, B, he was underweight, or C, he had too many speeding tickets?
Bleep!
Who's got the bleep? Okay, Ilana.
I'm going to say C just for fun.
That is correct.
Whoa!
What? Really?
Oh, I am being bageled here.
All right, your next question. That means that Ilana is in the lead with 2 points. Peter's right behind with 1, and Pam, still waiting for you. All right, here we go. Number 4. Which Star Wars term was never uttered? This is a hard one. This is really hard. Which Star Wars term was never uttered by any of the characters in the original trilogy? Which of these Star Wars terms was never uttered by any characters in the original trilogy? Is it Ewok, Jedi Knight, or Galactic Empire?
Woo!
Okay, that's the ghost.
Ewok.
That is correct.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
I would
Ewok
never
was
think
never uttered.
Now, did you guys just give that to me, or is that true?
Are you kidding? We would never just give you an answer like that. You got it right.
Yes.
Brilliant. She should get 2 for that.
Do I get 2 points for that?
Oh, no. You only get 1. Sorry. All right. Scott.
All right, question number 5. What do Jim Carrey and George Lucas have in common? Was it A, they both dated Linda Ronstadt? B, they both...
Okay, Peter.
A, they both dated Linda Ronstadt.
Oh, that is correct.
How did you know that?
How did you know that?
I thought it was Jerry Brown that dated Linda Ronstadt.
He did too. I think a lot of people dated her.
Tim,
If you want to work here.
Tim, I think you dated Linda Ronstadt.
Oh, yeah,
too.
we dated at one point too, yes.
Yeah, we actually have a horse here in the ranch that Linda gave George. That's part of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are there pictures of her on the ranch?
No. His new wife, Melody, probably wouldn't like that.
Okay, just checking to make sure. All right. Question number, is it my turn? I've lost track.
It is your turn, Tim.
Okay. Question number 6. Here we go. Besides his amazing work with Edutopia, oh, by the way, it's 2 for Ilana, 2 for Peter, and 1 for Pam. This is your chance to bring it to a 3-way tie, Pam.
Oh.
Besides his amazing work with Edutopia, George Lucas has also done charitable work by doing what? A, contributed $15 million toward the Task Force for Global Health. B, donated $1 million toward the building of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C. Or C, donated $1.5 million to disaster relief efforts following Hurricane Katrina, split between the Red Cross and the Bush-Clinton Katrina Fund.
Woo!
Oh, Scott, I couldn't tell. Who do you think it was?
I think it was
I think it was Pam.
I think it was, yeah. Okay, Pam?
I think it's C.
The donated towards the Katrina Fund. That is incorrect. Would someone else like to answer?
Ilana,
B.
you going with B?
$1 million towards the MLK Memorial in D.C. That is correct! And that makes Ilana the winner!
Yay! Woo-hoo-hoo!
Okay, a little bit of an unfair advantage, I think, on that one, but...
Oh, what the heck. You know,
Scott,
it was fun.
You want to tell us what... and Ilana, who are you playing for again that just won a prize?
I got it.
You got it? Okay, Scott's got it. Scott, tell us what just happened.
You just got the 3 first points, and so guess what?
What?
You've won absolutely nothing. But Gaten out on the East Coast, he won a free download of the ridiculously popular Edulicious rock band, rocking the standards for grades 2 through 6. Gaten, you're going to love it, buddy.
Wonderful.
Congratulations to Gaten. And why don't you guys give us one last closing way that people can contact you and follow up. Obviously, it's through Edutopia, but if there's a way that people can contact you more personally in terms of Twitter, Facebook, or anything like that, let our audience know about that. Let's start with Pam.
I am very easy. It's at Pam, P-A-M, Moran, M-O-R-A-N, on Twitter, at Pam Moran.
Awesome. Ilana?
Before I get into the contact stuff, I know we're running late on time, but I really want to hone in that Schools that Work is nothing unless people actually use it and adapt it. So please take a look at it. edutopia.org/STW, or just Google Schools That Work. You'll go right to the landing page. You can embed any video. You can steal anything that you see there. We never gate content. It's free. So please use it. And we have a whole community supporting it, too. So ask any questions you need to adapt it to your own school environment. So.
And we want to make it clear that Edutopia is a nonprofit.
That's right.
That's awesome. I mean, you guys are giving it away, and it's probably the most amazing resource on the internet for teachers. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So you can reach me at Ilana Leone on Twitter. I'm also on Voxer, Instagram, Facebook, all of that under that same handle. You can reach Edutopia at Edutopia on Twitter, on Facebook, online, all of that. You can also get our e-newsletter that goes out once a week, anything. Pretty easy. We try to make it as easy as possible to connect.
Great. Peter?
You can reach me on Twitter at CairnPost, so C-A-I-R-N-P-O-S-T. CairnPost.
And if you see anybody at an Edutopia conference, including someone like a Pam that has been featured, feel free to talk about your school. We want to hear what amazing things schools are doing.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And people should go watch our videos because I'm so proud of our educators and kids. And so go look for Albemarle on Edutopia and see what cool things are happening here.
We're super proud of the Albemarle videos too. They're extraordinary.
Yeah.
Hey Pam, it's really great to meet you, and we're so thankful you're out there leading the way on innovation and what works in schools. And Ilana and Peter, thanks for coming on today. We really appreciate the time and sharing with the audience, and we're cheering you on as you try to make as you do make a huge impact in the education of so many lives out there. So thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Similar business, Tim and Scott, getting the message out there about what's working in schools. So, a lot of gratitude back to you guys too. It's been a pleasure, and I have loved your podcast for a long time. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Big fan.
And most of all, thanks
Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.